This is AHHRPilot, and I'm Task.
I'm Phrase.
And you are listening to our first episode. This is a pilot episode of AHHRPilot podcast. And we hope to get things off to a real good start. We're just going to jump in here. We're not going to get on a long rant about how we just got set up. I'm Task, as he said, he's Phrase, and we're two MCs, and we're going to give you unique perspectives on this podcast. You're going to be hearing a lot of crazy statements sometimes, other times you're going to really hear some heartfelt statements.
These are not pop culture views of hip-hop. These are hip-hop views of hip-hoppers.
First up, Phrase.
That would be me, sir.
That would be you. Alright, Phrase, speaking of first up, do you remember when the Wu-Tang Clan was hot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course I remember that.
And who was the most, we was just talking about popular, who was the most popular of the Wu-Tang members?
Method Man by far.
Okay, would you say he was the Wu-Tang front man, like he was the face of the Wu?
According to pop culture, yeah.
Okay. Well, Mr. Method Man, METHOD Man, he has a new release coming out real soon. It's called 421, I believe. Yes, 421, the day after. It'll be hitting stores August 29th. Now, what's interesting about this story is that Method Man says that, and I quote, "The National Weed Smoking Day is 420, so I named my album 421, the day after. Because after that day, you have this moment of clarity when you're not as high and you see things clearly."
Makes a lot of sense, but I don't know if it applies.
Okay. Now, he also said that in his previous work that his priorities weren't straight. He didn't have things straight. Now, everybody knows that his last album wasn't what they expected from a Wu-Tang member.
Correct.
If we like the old Method Man, why would we like him now? Why would we like him more now? Or how can we accept now what he's saying about he can see things clearly now? Didn't we like the high Method Man with the eye and with the vampire teeth? I mean, isn't that the Method Man? But this new Method Man, I
think he's supposed to be taking it back to that Taskmaster. I think I read in an interview that the moment of clarity that he was talking about was saying that he was supposed to be like returning back to his roots. I don't know if that clears anything up for you, but that's what I read.
Yeah, that is. Ladies and gentlemen, Method Man, to me, is not the best Wu-Tang member. He's not even the top 3 best Wu-Tang members. He's not even in the top 3. So I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, how can we accept this new Method Man if the old Method Man is what we like? What about this moment of clarity? What about the 420 Method Man? The 421 Method Man is a sober, drug-free Method Man.
I don't know what to say to that one.
August 29th, Method Man will be saying what he has to say, and I will be checking for that album myself because I want to see, okay, he has this moment of clarity. Now let's see what's going on. What is he talking about? Let's see if at least I hope Ghostface, Raekwon, and them make their guest appearances on the. And please, RZA, produce that album.
Respect to the chef.
Speaking of which,
and one of the most underrated ever, Raekwon.
Speaking of which, Raekwon's album, Only Built for Cuban Links 2. We've been hearing a lot of buzz about it for how long now?
Seems like 2 years.
2 years.
Bzzz, a lot of buzz. Bzzz.
A lot of buzz. Busta Rhymes co-signed on it already. He already said, he was executive producer, I believe.
Correct.
Okay. Now, recently, RZA said that he was working on an Only Built for Cuban Links 2 album. I think that's a good look for Raekwon. What you think?
I don't know.
He's getting Dre beats. He's getting RZA's beats. I mean,
to me personally, I like Raekwon over the Grammy stuff. And him and Dre, that don't sound right to me. But to me, the RZA's beats have steadily gone downhill since the quote flood at the Wu Mansion.
Yeah, since the flood.
I don't know, The dude said that he lost his beats. To me, it sounded like he lost his ears. I don't know.
Well, RZA, and I laughed out loud like that because Fraze and we've been joking about that for years since this flood. You know, it just seems like things have gone downhill for the Wu-Tang. But I must admit, I didn't. I wasn't listening to them when that first album came out. And I caught on really when Iron Man came out. When Iron Man came out, that's when I really went back. I listened to Method Man's album. I said, okay, these boys are the truth. I take that back. Only Built for Cuban Links 2 came out before Iron Man, and I was listening.
Cuban Links 1.
Yeah, Cuban Links 1 came out before Iron Man, and I was listening to that steadily. Alright.
The best Wu album ever, I might add.
I don't know about that. I won't give my opinion on the best Wu album. I'll reserve that for a later podcast.
Best Wu album ever. Only Built for Cuban Links.
Now you say that's the best Wu album. Before we move on out of Raekwon, you say that's the best Wu album. There was also an article of top 10 lists, top 100 lists, you know, and they listed Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links as the #1 hip hop album of all time out of like 100. I want to say it was Scratch Magazine. I'm not sure. Ladies and gentlemen, you can send us emails at podcast@allhiphopreview.com. Let us know. Send us a link. Keep in contact with us. Let us know where that list is, because we really would like to go over that list.
Wow, I'm shocked. #1?
Yeah, #1. So you know the list.
I like the album, but I didn't think that they would give it a #1.
Yeah, but I mean that goes to show. I mean, this source. Once we find out who this source is, because I can't recall by memory, but once we figure out who this source is, then that'll give that source a lot of credibility in my eyes, personally. Moving along, G-Rap also announced he has a new album coming out called Uncontrolled Substances.
Yeah, I heard.
So what do you think?
That's ironic because we were just talking about the Wu, and that's the name of Inspector Deck's album, Uncontrolled Substance.
Well, I mean,
that's ironic.
Well, the story also went on to say that he has a mixtape coming out called Sneak Attack.
Yeah, that was KRS's album.
Exactly. That was KRS's album. So I mean, that's your boy, Phrase. G-Rap is your boy. I mean, Wikipedia says that he originated a particular rhyme style. With rhyming the same syllable or the same 2 syllables through a whole verse.
Mm-hmm.
So where's the originality in these titles? I mean, Sneak Attack, the teacher? Teacher, I'm sorry. Jay-Z already took your blueprint. G-Rap is taking your Sneak Attack. I mean, Nas, is the name of your next album gonna be Sex and Violence? Okay. Rick Ross. Phrase.
Sneak Attack's a common phrase. Just to go back to that, it's not like he took it from KRS. That's something. Sneak Attack, hey.
Yeah, Sneak Attack.
It's an army strategy. A military strategy. I'm sorry, excuse me.
Sneak Attack, military strategy. I totally agree with you. But there's also, but in hip hop originality, where is it?
I personally think that G-Rap probably didn't even have neither one of those albums, Inspector Deck or KRS's album, in mind when he thought of those titles.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You don't think he had either one of those titles? Either
Uncontrolled Substance? No. That's a common statement too.
Inspector Deck, he's the Wu-Tang Clan.
But he's one of the lesser known members of the Wu-Tang Clan. Remember we were talking about Method Man being the face of that group.
Yeah, you're right. I would agree with that. But I think that G-Rap being a student of hip hop, and I say that he's a student of hip hop because he was smart enough to make business moves to work with G-Unit to put out the mixtape that they put out. He has the savvy of working with Marley Marl and the Juice Crew, being a part of the Juice Crew, and I think that him. If he was a part of Juice Crew.
Yeah, he was part of Juice Crew.
Okay. Because I know there were like some peripheral members they had there, but now he should have KRS-One's album at least at the minimum. He should have KRS out, even though that was a later album. I think he should have KRS's album. But
I'm still going by Sneak Attack. It's a mixtape. I don't think a lot of thought is probably put into it. It's a mixtape.
Okay. All right, moving on. I would have to ask, phrase, Rick Ross. Every day I'm hustling.
Every day I'm hustling.
Now I even seen that on a car wash truck. It said every day I'm hustling. Rick
I think
Ross
that's exactly why I said hit, because people can relate to it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Rick Ross though, his album is coming out when? August 8th, you said?
I think August 8th, yeah.
August 8th.
That's what the van's been saying.
Okay. Now, with his album coming out on August 8th, what are your guesses? What are your predictions? Flop? Do you think, and when I say flop, I don't mean sell a bunch of albums. I mean have some continuity after putting out an album. I give you an example. A lot of rappers put out albums and they kind of disappear. You never hear about them after their first single or after their second single, if they even put out a second single. One example I'll say after the album comes out that I can think of off the top of my head would have to be Clips. Clips had a hit with Grindr, and they had their label problems, but essentially they faded off. But let's not look behind the scenes just for a second and just look at them as putting out an album, having a hit song, and kind of fading off into obscurity.
Well, personally, I'm not really a fan of the Clips, but I also saw second and third singles from that album. They had a lot of videos from that album.
Okay.
But as far as I know what you mean, your point, like Joe Budden, like, yeah.
Joe Budden, Def Jam, they have something in common.
I don't know. Yeah, man, that could be key right there, because Rick Ross is on Def Jam. And after Pump It Up with Joe Budden, I do not remember the second single.
Well, with Joe Budden, supposedly there was a single that was put out and it didn't do too well on the streets, or the videos didn't like it, or it was a terrible single. But I do know that it did come out and it did flop.
Okay. I knew that the Clips had 2 more songs that got regular rotation, because I could see the videos in my head now.
Okay, yeah, because I mean I gotta give it up to Clips. Those are some lyricists. They spit. Even though they tend to spit about one thing. I mean you would think that that you could spit about more than just how much coke you moving. But I mean, every region needs a version of their own version of the locks. So I have to give it up to Virginia. Now,
their own version of the
locks. With Rick Ross though, his album is coming out. Do you think that Rick Ross will end up the same way that Jeezy end up, since he's from the South and he's on the same label, Def Jam, or has the same machine behind him?
I think it's possible. It just depends. I feel like, personally, Def Jam has already made a mistake with his album coming out August 8th. We've been hearing Every Day I'm Hustling since April, May. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I think the album should have been out a long time ago, but maybe they think the second single is going to be bigger. That usually doesn't happen in my watching of hip-hop. Now,
it's interesting that you said that, because Def Jam did something where they extended his buzz beyond that Hustler. They put out a remix with Jeezy, and they put and with Jay-Z. Now that buzz had died down, or it was dying down from Hustler, and they put out the remix, and the remix kind of rekindled the buzz. Are you hearing the remix in the club at all?
Not as much as the original.
Okay, but people are familiar with it out there on the streets, because I know that the heads is loving it. Now, I think that is real interesting though, and this isn't. I'm not the first person to notice this, but I find it interesting that Hova decides, okay, I'm gonna jump on Jeezy's album, do the guest appearance with the remix to help promote Jeezy. I'm gonna also jump on Rick Ross's album to help Rick Ross. These are two Southerners,
right?
But at the same time, I'm not gonna let Joe Buttons out the door. Reggie Noble, You not coming out either. I'm not gonna do any collabs with Ghostface to produce his album, nor am I gonna recognize the talents of a new New York artist like a Papoose and kind of get a co-sign him, even like he did Loopy, or Lupe or whatever, however you pronounce his name. I think it's Loopy, but he's from Chicago, and that's somebody else that he kind of co-signed on, but he isn't co-signing these other artists from his own region. Now, I think that's real interesting that he did it and that he did not do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to hear your opinions on that.
Wow. My honest opinion. Flashback 2001. Song by a guy named Nas. Ether. He had a line. You're good writing. You love the attention. The South is hot now. He likes to. I don't know. Right. He's supposed to be retired. He has.
Just announced today.
Jeezy. Rick Ross. Why no songs with Bleak?
Well, Bleak has proven that he can't sell, that he can't even if Jay-Z co-signs him, that he can't sell. For some reason, America doesn't like Bleak. I mean, personally, I think his delivery is good. I love his delivery. That Streets is Watching soundtrack, Precise Mind, like the Pharaohs of Egypt. Come on, Bleak. I loved it, but America doesn't like Bleak. But with that said, we're gonna move on. We're gonna go from commercial, and we're gonna go ahead and go underground, and we'll keep it to the essence of hip hop. Speaking of the essence, De La Soul. You recently got your hands on the Impossible Mission mixtape.
Yeah, Impossible Mission mixtape, De La Soul.
We had a photo shoot this weekend or last weekend, and you had it in your whoop.
Mm-hmm.
What are your impressions?
I think it's a pretty tight CD to hold you over till the next album comes out. I can't remember like the tracks, like the names and the numbers, but it was some songs in there that I didn't like, to be honest with you, but for the most part, now, those two guys like still have it. Like, as far as that, like,
isn't it 3 people in that song?
I'm talking about like as far as them singing. The DJ raps.
It's only 2 of them rapping? Oh, I thought it was 3 of them rapping.
Oh, the DJ raps occasionally. Plug 3 raps occasionally.
Okay. Now, you said that there were a couple songs that you didn't like on there. And I think, let me guess it. Let me see if I can guess one. But the one song that my guess is, I think that it's so unique that they did. Even though I may not like the song, even though you may not like the song, I think it's interesting that they did this. What they did, ladies and gentlemen, is before the song on the mixtape, they tell you, yeah, we created this song, and Outkast did this before on one of their albums, but they do something a little different. They tell you why the label didn't. I mean, they tell you how they went to the label with this song, because they were kind of like playing a trick on the label, you know, trying to just see, okay, what will the labels take? You know, what will they take? Was that one of the songs you didn't like?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were
playing, actually. It was a joke.
Yeah, it was a big joke, but it was a full song, and you can really appreciate these guys and their artistic vision with the way that they pulled that one.
Originality.
All right, you say that you really didn't get a chance to listen to the De La Soul Impossible Mission mixtape, and I hear that they also have a sequel coming out too. But what are you listening to right now?
Well, I just got my hands on that Boot Camp Click Last Stand album not too long ago. That's what I've been listening to pretty much. Well,
yeah, I think it did come out today, if I'm not correct. Today, ladies and gentlemen, is July 25th. And
I think it came out last week. I think it came out on the 18th. I've had it already for a week.
Okay. Well, I tell you one thing about Boot Camp Click. Personally, I'm not a fan of those guys as a whole. I think one MC that stands out in a bunch is Sean Price. Monkey Bars to me is a real good album. Probably one of the best albums of last year.
2005.
Yeah, probably one of the best albums of last year. Actually, I take that back. Definitely one of the best albums of last year. Monkey Bars, Sean Price. So, Phrase, what do you think of the album?
I think the Boot Camp Click album is good. I think the production changed a little. Yeah, like beats from Ninth Wonder. Like, he gives them a sound that's like not as grimy as their other sound from before, but it sounds good. I think personally, I think his beats sound good when Buckshot raps over them more than anybody else's, because of Buckshot's delivery. Yeah, now Buckshot, I heard you say you're not a fan of the group as a whole, but I don't know. I think he started a lot of things on the East Coast. If you go back to 1992, 93.
Buckshot
yes,
from Black Moon.
Yes, Buckshot from Black Moon. This man does not get his credit.
Okay. Today on allhiphopreview.com, the podcast,
yes,
he is going to get his credit. Give him his credit, because I don't... What is...
Buckshot, 1992 or 93. You flash back. You listen to hip-hop coming from the East Coast. Of course, the East Coast is big, but when they say East Coast, that the automatic fan thinks New York. You had the Brand Nubians, you had the Tribe Called Quest, you had the Leaders of the New Schools, you had the Naughty by Natures. All these guys are running East Coast music. You had the Third Bases, you had the Gangstars. Out comes Buckshot, Shorty, 5FT, and Evil D. New York rappers weren't criminals before these guys came out.
Okay.
Enter the Stage, 1993.
They weren't criminals.
Yes, not on wax. You had a few exceptions, of course, the Just Ices and the G-Raps, but for the most part, the Biggies, the Nas's, the AZs, the Mobb Deeps, all of these groups came after Black Moon. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
It wasn't crime rap. East Coast was positive, peaceful. Let's dance.
Okay.
And they wanted to teach us something, and there's nothing wrong with that. Black Moon came, then it was like, oh, I got the nickel bag in my bag, and da-da-da-da. It was different.
All right.
That's Buckshot's claim, I think.
Okay, well, you also had a chance to listen to his the Ninth Wonder collab album that he did,
Chemistry.
And you was also a fan of that, right?
I was a fan of that because I'm a Buckshot fan. I personally feel like the album was good, but it could have been better. I felt like he didn't pick Ninth Wonder's best beats. On a couple, now don't get me wrong, on some tracks I liked it. Like out of like 13 songs, I probably say I didn't like maybe 5 of them.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna move on to sports and entertainment. We're just gonna do a little brief sports and entertainment segment. Fraser, you have anything for sports?
Sports? Yeah, I just heard that the Pacers are gonna do a sign and trade with Atlanta to get Al Harrington back. I feel that's a good move for the Pacers because I feel like Al Harrington's a very underrated player, and I do not understand why they let him go in the first place.
Ladies and gentlemen, Taskmaster is the biggest Pacer fan in the world. But I'm not one of those crazy fans. But I can tell you that those guys really know how to control a basketball team over there. And the reason they got rid of Al Harrington was pretty much to clear a little salary cap room. Who did we get in that deal?
To sign him back for more?
Well, we had more to sign because we got rid of Ron Artest for Peja. Peja left. Peja's contract was up, so he signed with someone else. So things worked out really, really well. That cleared up a lot of room real quick. And that's the only reason Peja got picked up. A lot of people wonder why he got picked up. So that was a real good move. I'm happy to see Al Harrington back. And without Ron Artest, he could just do that small forward position the way it's supposed to be done.
What I still think they got the weak link in the Jermaine O'Neal.
Jermaine O'Neal, weak link?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Here's a guy. Potential. Came out of high school. Good. Scored 50 points before. Playoffs. Invisible. That's what I get from the guy. He punches fans in the face and gets invisible in the playoffs.
Punches fans in the face and gets invisible at the playoffs.
Yeah, the horrible NBA brawl, remember?
Yeah. Can't forget that.
Sucker punched the dude that was like 3'1" and he's like 7 feet. Lost a lot of respect for Jermaine O'Neal that day.
Well, one thing about Jermaine O'Neal that I can say is that during the regular season he does always produce for the Pacers, but at the end of the season it does seem like he's real beat up, man. I mean, he can't take the punishment like a lot of these guys because
he's not a power forward. He's a tall, small forward. Ladies and gentlemen, the game has changed.
I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, but there you have it. Opinions of Task and Phrase are not affiliated with allhiphop.com, although we regularly do log on. We're going to go ahead and close it out if you don't have anything else that you want to share with the ladies and gentlemen.
Go get that Boot Camp Click album, The Last Stand. 14 tracks. Listen to the ones that the Beat Miners did.
And with that said, thank you for listening.